Local versus cloud. Let's talk about it. Now, over the past weekend, I had a couple of words for people out there in the local versus cloud community. Me being a big time advocate for local, running models local, running open weights, open source, and all the above, I've been someone, I guess you could say, that is a big time advocate for the local overall community. Me coming into OpenClaw back in February and running cloud models like Kimi 2.5, running models like Opus 4.6, running models like Codex 5.3. Don't get me wrong, I love my cloud models at the end of the day too, but there's been some things that I just really appreciate about owning my hardware, owning my privacy, and I guess knowing the fact that everything that I'm doing is happening within my own household, right? And it wasn't until Qwen 3.6 or 3.5, my bad, 27B dropped that I had a 3090 that was sitting off to the side of my room really collecting dust that I found the actual strength in local models. Qwen 3.5, 27B, and 35B-A3 were two big time, I would say, moments in the AI space that happened this year. And since then, the rest was history. It was almost like a gateway drug, but in a good way, to local models. Because then it went from there to then getting a DGX Spark, to getting a second DGX Spark, to then I think getting a second 3090, to then getting a third 3090, a fourth 3090, and also then getting two more DGX Sparks as well, and having quad 3090s and quad DGX Sparks, which is a big time investment. And that's one thing I want to put out there clearly, that as a disclaimer, that people tend to forget and not understand, is that running local models is never really about saving money, because there's a lot of upfront cost that goes into it to where you have to do a lot to make back up for it. It's not the main advocate point here. Could you end up catching up in time and it making sense? Yes. But it's kind of like, in my opinion, it reminds me a lot of like solar panels. If you were to buy solar panels right now, like a lot of the time these companies will come to you and then make you like buy the solar panels for like $20,000 to $30,000, and then what you do is you pay in installment plans, and you can either pay up front or you can pay in installment plans that then would deduct on your actual electricity side, and it would balance things out. And then over time, once you go through that whole entire loan, whether it's 15 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever, then you would see, after the loan is done, you'll start seeing the really big benefit in the solar panel because you have paid off it and now you're just running off of solar. It's kind of like that with AI, from like you pay these big upfront costs within, you know, for instance, one thing you could look at, you could probably buy a couple of DGX Sparks and pay on a credit card on a monthly payment and pay somewhere near or slightly above what you would pay for Anthropic, or pay maybe more, or just pay a big time upfront cost for running stuff locally. That's, at the end of the day, it's not about that though. I don't think that people in this space are really advocating for the payment part. I think it's about owning your own compute, and then also being able to run uncensored models, tuned models, trained models, and just having full control of what you run and how you run it. See, also, of course, there's privacy. Every little thing that you send through your actual little agent or your chat GBT or whatever, you're technically training the next model and your information is going out to the cloud. I'll be honest, I'm not really doing too much that have to worry about privacy, but I do end up doing more and more with other clients that I want to present that as a protection of their privacy for businesses in the future that I want to run through local models, keeping all their information within my household. So we had a lot to talk about, and one thing that we'll do another video on is this specifically. We've seen also a lot of comparisons of the DGX Spark versus the RTX 6000. People always say, like, you know, people are pushing these DGX Sparks out where, you know, it's like the DGX Spark is just not a good overall hardware for running agents, which I definitely disagree. And this chart just says it alone, because there's a whole different price bracket to get into certain models when running an RTX 6000 or 5090 compared to a DGX Spark. But that's for a whole nother video, right? So we talked a lot. There was a lot of people on that stances. One of the biggest stances, as I stated before, is people saying like this, you know, kill your $20 subscription and run DeepSeek V4 Flash locally for $10,000. $10,000 you can buy around 500 months for 40 years of API usage. That is one of the biggest, I guess you could say, defenses or attacks on local, is that, yeah, you can spend $10,000 to run DeepSeek locally, where that $10,000 of the price of DeepSeek right now, you can run DeepSeek locally, through the API cloud for 500 months or 40 years, as they would put it, right? So once again, I am not here talking about the savings of money, but I'm going to go ahead and say that my defense to that, as always stated, is that we always base this upon the price of today, not the price of tomorrow or the price of the future. So DeepSeek right now is cheap, but you do know that DeepSeek just released that they're going to be making big time advancements of their prices, right? They can just do that on the fly as well. Right now, GLM 5.2 just dropped their prices, I think 90%. They're probably going to get that money to then push out 5.3 and then raise the prices up. My bad. Opus 5, you know, we look at the actual cost of these actual models and how they're running right now. Some of them are getting more and more expensive. I mean, look at Fable, $3. Anthropic's expensive. ChatGPT, for the most part, has been doing a good job of trying to bring that out there. And one of the things that we always talk about when it comes to price, though, is that it's subsidized. You know, they're just taking as much money in, and they have all these investors that help alongside with that to then get to AGI, to then when that is actually hit, we don't know where this money and this price is going to end up going. Now, I'm not going to fear monger either at the end of the day, because there is also a big time, huge potential and a very likely, very, very likely outcome, right? Is that when AGI comes, if it does come, but AI just becomes cheaper because it becomes more efficient, and by it becoming more efficient, it's able to run at a cheaper rate. Like, that does make sense as well. So we could see as models get smarter and smarter and smarter, they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because running them is easier and easier. So it really can go any way. But at the end of the day, I do know that the compute that I hold, I will always be able to have access to fairly good models. And we're seeing more and more models become more efficient. Qwen 3.6 or 3.8 27B drops tomorrow. It's going to be only 27 parameters. I'm going to be able to run that on one 3090 or multiple instances on one DGX Spark. DeepSeek is another one. Like, we're seeing so many more of these models, and we're going to see even more models come out in this mid-tier, and I will always have access to these models on my own 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And 3090s are 6 years old at this point, and they're still capable. People are still using them. So at the end of the day, could it be that? Could it be a financial investment? Possibly, but I didn't do it for a financial investment. I did it to learn about this. I did it to learn and experience local AI and the power of the compute. And I do think as we continue to go on, I think local is going to be pushed more and more into the products that we buy out there. You already see what NVIDIA is doing with the RTX Spark, with the laptop. I feel like Mac is going to do something as well. Apple's going to do something when they drop stuff. I just feel like we're going to get more and more local models being ran in the products that we buy out the gate. And I think, why not go ahead and invest into that product now and have fun and learn from it? Another thing that's going to probably happen, there's a potential that the prices could drop down on the hardware. We don't know, and I won't lean to that because we're not seeing that anytime soon unless some breakthrough comes through. But currently, we only see prices increasing for RAM, increasing for the SSDs, increasing for just memory in general, and increasing for GPUs, and even DGX Sparks are increasing at this point. So that is something that I just can't bet on, and I'd rather just invest in it now, have some fun, learn about it, and take an investment more so into my knowledge and what I'm learning rather than trying to do it from a financial standpoint. That's just me. I never did it from a financial standpoint. I'll also say, though, with that said, you know, with the speeds that I get from my quad 3090s on 27B or 35B A3, I'm getting faster speeds than what I get on cloud. DeepSeek V4 Flash, I would say I'm getting about 60 to 80 tokens per second, which is, I want to say it's not as fast as what cloud claims to be. It depends on the overall which one you're using, but they're saying 130 being used on artificial analysis. That is one thing. But one thing I will say, what a lot of people that also are against local, I'm starting to really see some of these people out here and seeing the ulterior motive that they have. See, I am pushing local, and I'll be honest with you, I'm pushing local, and I've bought all the hardware that I've bought, right? But don't get me wrong. If NVIDIA sent me some product, if they sent me a DGX Spark to run, I already have the product, so I'm going to definitely talk good about it because I already enjoy it. But I would be open to tell you guys, hey, I'm running this additional hardware, or I'm running this, or I was sent this, but I'm already a component of pushing local out there. So it doesn't, right now, it hasn't made me any money. I've spent money. Now at this point, I did get monetized on YouTube. But I could say right now at this point, I'm very this is organic as possible on why I love it. And I'm more so in the ditch than out of the ditch for it. So I don't have any personal, I would say, connection or liability to local. It's just something that I preferably own. Now, this particular person, who's to Dax, I have no issue with you, Dax. You're just one of many people. But, you know, he was somebody that spoke out again, you know, once again about it. The average open code user spends $1.14 per day on DeepSeek V4 Flash this week. The dual DGX Spark setup people are running to do the same costs $10,000. So, you know, it takes 24 years to break even. At 10 times the usage, it would take 2.4 years. There's a lot of reasons to want to run local models, cost is probably not one of them, which I do agree with him here. But once again, he's saying this. But then I didn't know this guy. I looked him up. And then I come to find out, oh, he's, I guess, the founder, one of the founders of OpenCode. I go to OpenCode. Oh, OpenCode is actually pushing out their provider of DeepSeek v4 Flash. So they make money selling DeepSeek v4 Flash in the API cloud. They make money that way. They don't make money. See, I can download OpenCode on my computer, but they don't make money by me running my local DeepSeek on their product. They make money if I run OpenCode and then I buy DeepSeek from them. And so much to say, even with my guy here, I think he said it somewhere down here, like they made some mills. They making some bread, man. Right here. As of last week, OpenCode's run rate is $15 million. Our goal is to hit $100 million by the end of the year. $54 million and 4 months to go. Will we make it? Now, look, I don't know if this is run rate, the revenue, whatever. Like my main point is they make money selling cloud. They make money selling to providers, to people. So salute to this individual. This guy probably knows more about stuff in this space than I do. But I'm just using my logical thinking right here. Does this guy benefit from from local models being ran? If we were able to run everything fully local, we never needed the cloud anymore. Where does he make his money for OpenCode then at this point? Because OpenCode itself is open source. You can download it. From at least it's an app. I believe it's open source. Like, it's free to go. So where does he make his money? So, he makes his money from that. So then it's like, okay, so then is there a motive? Do you have a motive to push the cloud out there? A lot of people that have these issues, I start to look and see what are they selling? What are they making? What are they building? And if they're building something as a provider to something that needs cloud, then it kind of skews my opinion, like skews their wording overall. I won't sit here and at the same time say that I disagree with him logically from the money standpoint. Like, what he says is right, but people are not buying local to save money. At least that's not the main point. I will say buying one RTX 3090, buying two RTX 3090, which is $2,000, right? $2,000, $1,000. If you have a computer already and you need to put 2 GPUs in it, like, there's definitely more to it if you wanted to build it all out, motherboard, RAM, and all that. But if you have a computer already and you had a GPU in there and it was like a weak one and you wanted to drop 2 bands to put 2 GPUs in there, or drop 1 band to put 1 in there, I would definitely say 2, so you can dedicate 1 to running your computer and the other one for models. Or you can run 2 3090s and, just run that computer headless now and work off of a laptop or your phone or whatever. But my point is, if you have 2 3090s, 1 3090 or 2, I will say, both really matter. But Qwen 3.6 27B and 35B A3, you will definitely, I think, save money in your provider inference cost using that locally. That's just my opinion. Now, I will say this, I'll get back to that, but I will say you save money there. I think you, especially with 3.8 on the horizon, and with 3.8, it's honestly looking like it will probably land somewhere in the DeepSeek territory. $10,000 to run that right now. When Qwen 3.8 drops, if it's around here, that drops down to basically $1,000. And not really that, because the majority of us out here probably has a 3090, 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and we don't. But it's going to be extremely, extremely cheap to run very strong AI, which, technically speaking, 27B is already strong. 35B is already strong, but this will be even stronger. We'll be pushing, what was once frontier a couple months ago. So I say all that to say, like, at the end of the day, I'm not running fully local. I don't necessarily even think I plan to, but what is going to happen? This is what's going to happen in the future for me. I'm currently running hybrid. I currently run with a subscription from a frontier model, which I tend to juggle back and forth, and I might even juggle even more, no Diddy, but I currently run the Max Claude, and then I run a small like ChatGPT subscription. I might honestly bring them both to the hundreds and have 100 and 100, but I usually use agentic work with Claude and then build work with ChatGPT. I build skills with Claude and I build products with ChatGPT. Once those two things are built, I build out the skill sets, right? And when I say skills from Claude, I might basically like pipelines, assembly lines, automation, workflows. I build those skills out and I build out the skills for the programs, and then I send those to the local models and let those local models maintain the things that were built from these two guys. So these guys build and they don't touch it no more. These guys down here work, so they're just working nonstop on things that we're shipping, the things that we're building, automations that we're building, right? And if there's ever an issue, I call on them to do the work, right? So what's going to end up happening though, it's going to get to a point where the models that I'm running, right? We're already there with GLM. We're already there. Frontier is always going to be a little bit of steps ahead. And at the end of the day, Frontier is not just cloud at this point. Frontier is going to be local and cloud. Frontier is Kimi K3, 3.8 Max. These are Frontier. Okay. We can't sit here and say, oh, no, this is only like, what are we going to identify Frontier for at this point? Is there a certain number? Like, what is that, right? State of the art? Like, what are we going to claim it? Because right now, 63, 62, 61, 60, like Kimi, I even say like, I would say honestly, anything that is Grok, maybe Grok right here and up. And even then Grok's about to drop something new. But my point is, we're going to get to a point where we are already there. Let me just show you. Okay. So I started this YouTube stuff, or my bad, the agentic work stuff, right? I started this back in February. When I started, I was building a ton of things that I still use today. The things that the automations, everything I built. I started all that with Opus 4.6. We are past Opus 4.6 with DeepSeek V4. So a lot of the things that I built with this model, I can obviously build with this model. You know, as we progress, we're going to want to have the best of the best models building things and creating things because it just makes things better, right? But there's going to get to a point where, and we're already there, but when these local models are starting to now be where Opus 5 is, and the thing is I'm saying this now, but the thing is, it's going to be a revolving door. So like I have to put my foot down and say, what particular model, what particular standpoint are we going to say when local surpasses that model that we are in the land of the free, right? Is it when a model, when a local model can run past 4.7, 4.8? What is it? Because at one point, people were saying you're going to have Opus 4.6 on your hard drive by the end of the year. Well, we already got that technically if we look at it from this particular benchmark of DeepSeek V4 Flash. You know, like now if we want to push it to 4.7, all right, well, GLM 5.3 is more than likely going to put that on my desk. It's going to put 4.7 on my desk. So we got to like point to what it is and stand on that and just remember it. Because at some point, there is going to be another local model that is going to drop and is going to be better than Opus 5, which Opus 5, in my opinion, has been shit. Okay. But what I'm saying is when we get to that point and we're able to run that locally, the only reason at that point to even use these frontier models is maybe for one-offs, for quick builds. And at that point, I will question whether I need a subscription or not. I may just instead buy APIs from an open router or from somebody. I wouldn't even buy a subscription. I would probably put $200 on Claude, you know, and I guess I wouldn't have to put $200. If I put $200, I'm going to get more out of a subscription compared to $200 out of like open router, right? So it might even be on something where it's like I put $10, $20, $50, some even less than that in one of these providers and just run local. But the moment I need something help, some big executive work or build, that's when I go reach out to the cloud model and utilize my API. But what will happen is I might have $50 in the bank somewhere on one of these platforms and I'm barely touching it because I don't really need it except for emergencies. That's kind of how I've been running with DeepSeek right now. Like I have a DeepSeek API with DeepSeek and I use DeepSeek V4 Pro. I don't use it now because I have Flash, but I was utilizing it for little things here and there. It's going to be a point though where we're going to have local models on par with these, and we're only going to need Frontier for executive decisions, big time fixes that the local models can't do. And that's going to be the point when the subscriptions probably won't start making sense as much. I mean, at the end of the day, I say that the hybrid model is here to stay, at least for me. I will always want to have some sort of cloud model that is premier Frontier in the front somewhere helping, but the orchestration and keeping the lights on can be done by all local models, even to this day. But I think by the end of this year, it'll make even more and more sense too. So that's where I'm headed. You know, I think that you do need Frontier somewhere. There is a place for cloud models, but I do think that the way we're thinking from going to, you know, keeping subscriptions forever, it may not make so much sense. You might not need it. You might be able to run something for cheap, not saying you have to drop $10,000, $20,000. You might be able to run it on a 3090, two 3090s by next year. You might be able to run Opus off of that. So, you know, it's definitely a lot that goes on with it. That's why I'm a big proponent of local. Not more so because of saving money, but just being able to do all this within my own household and not relying on cloud. Just not relying on it, you know, and learning. I've learned so much by running cloud, by running my own models, by creating repos. And I learned so much that I wouldn't have learned doing the cloud. The cloud is definitely cost efficient. It's definitely fast. It's definitely easy too. But if you want a task, if you want a challenge, if you want to learn, I've learned a lot more dealing with the local side than just dealing with, typical, cloud agents and Hermes, OpenClaw, Grok, build. Utilizing local has helped me. I've learned a lot out of that. So, that is my basis of it. And I do just feel like, I don't know why I see a lot of people like, local AI, like people are having fun with their local AI and you got the guy in the back tripping and then people just don't give a damn. But that's my thoughts on local AI versus the cloud. Let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. I had to get this one out. Peace.